Apparently, Halle Berry has been getting the man treatment.
Halle Berry's divorce settlement from Olivier Martinez has been finalized after almost 8 years. Part of the ruling indicates that the pair will share joint legal custody of their 9-year-old son, Messio, with Berry agreeing to pay Martinez $8,000 a month in child support. She will also pay him 4.3% of any income she receives above $2 million and will shoulder the cost of their son's private school tuition, uniforms, and school supplies, as well as any extracurricular activities.
What's up, guys? It's Bad Decisions, where we watch people make
bad decisions.
It's your boy Sher.
It's your man Jay.
Tell me if this sounds familiar. Person makes a lot of money, then has kids with person who doesn't make a lot of money. Then person is responsible for paying for that person's lifestyle and their kid's lifestyle. Just in case you guys are unfamiliar, let me name a couple names. Dr. Dre, there's Tyrese, there's Kevin Costner.
I'm at $13,000 a month. What more do you want from me?
Is this some BS? Absolutely. I mean, I hate when it happens to men, so this is no different. I hate that it's happened to Halle Berry. And just so that you guys know that I am a true Halle Berry fan. I've always loved Halle Berry. Anyway, back to it. Huge questions that people might ask about the situation. How is this able to happen? Doesn't she have a lawyer? Doesn't she have 50-50 custody? Didn't she sign a prenup? You want to know what the answer to all your questions is? So do we, because we don't know either. And apparently Dr. Dre doesn't know either. That's why we keep losing.
So in a prenup, you cannot determine custody. You can talk about child support, you can say what the dollar amount will be, but you can't say who's gonna have custody. So that could be an issue there, is that, you know, they're in a situation where ideally she may have wanted custody and not to pay this man anything. But, you know, the judge could see it very differently.
This is what I do know, though. I know that judges don't like seeing disparities within households. And just in case you guys don't know what that means in terms of child support in the court and everything, let's say a man makes $300K and gets with a woman who might make $30K. And let's say that they separate. Basically, what happens in a situation like that is that the judge wants the $300K household and the $40K or the $30K household to be similar in lifestyle for the child. Does that make sense to you guys? Neither does it to me. It's ridiculous.
The mother was not looking at the amount of money the children needed. Erica was looking at the amount of money that Safari made. This is why she kept saying that he's not paying anything, because 2 kids for $4,000, that's way more than 2 kids need. And Safari here, it states, is making $61,000 a month. So she's like, well, $4,000 is nothing if you make $61,000. She's kind of right.
I mean, if we're being real, Halle Berry probably got off really easy because she's only paying $8K. When you look at other situations like Safari, who's paying $16K, and DJ Mustard, who's paying $30K a month. And the only reason why she's only paying $8K is because she has a previous child that she's already paying child support for.
So she's really paying $24K a month. So is she really getting off easy? Not really.
No.
You know what I've noticed? It seems to me that women who are breadwinners tend to, at a higher rate, get prenups compared to men. Now, again, there are fewer women who are breadwinners. Not saying that's right or wrong, so the numbers are kind of skewed.
Yeah.
But if you were to compare them two side by side, it seems like women are a lot more in tune and aware of the fact that things could go wrong, and so they protect themselves. Whereas men just walk in there like idiots and, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we're walking into lambs at the slaughter.
Pretty much.
Oh, you crazy.
But I will say that it does seem like a lot more men are wising up to the dangers of marriage, but really divorce, and the family court system. And so they're wising up and starting to get prenups. But unfortunately, there are still masses of men and women who are just blindly walking into marriage, and they're not taking time to consult an attorney and to figure out how to best protect themselves in case the worst case scenario happens. Not hoping for the worst, but preparing for it.
And right now, to be honest, there's no excuse for it. Because if you look on YouTube, listen, you got people like the lead attorney
here.
Right.
You got other defense attorneys.
Right.
Right now in social media.
Sexton, my guy. I think James Sexton. Check him out.
If you break it down fundamentally, 56% of marriages end in divorce. Like, think about, that's the ones that end in divorce. So how many people, what percentage stay together for the kids? Or because they don't want to give away half their shit? Another 10%? That's conservative. Let's say 20% then. You now have a technology that fails 76% of the time. That's insane. That's insane. That's more likely than not.
I mean, you have so many resources now. There's really no reason why someone's pouring a wall over your eyes. Not only that, but think about all the news stories you hear.
Oh, yeah. There's absolutely, yeah. There's no blind ignorance anymore. It's everywhere. You hear the stories, you see the news. Take 30 minutes to read up on it, and then go talk to somebody about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, dude, stop scrolling on Instagram and looking at the booty model for 5 seconds and look at some legal stuff.
Exactly. Leave that to me. Go look at the legal stuff. Speaking of James Sexton, who's a 20-year divorce attorney, he always he always compares marriage to being a tool. And so whenever I see stories like what happened to Halle Berry or Kelly Clarkson or Mary J. Blige, right? Because these are women who have faced what a lot of men face as far as having to pay a large amount of a large amount of alimony or losing a lot of their assets to divorce. So if you think about marriage as being a tool, then you want to ask yourself a question: is it an outdated tool?
Do you believe in marriage?
I mean, I believe people believe in marriage.
No, but do you?
Yeah. Do I believe in marriage? I don't. I don't think it's a useful technology. I understand culturally why people do it, but I don't think people should need it. I know I certainly don't need marriage. I don't think marriage... I was married. I was married before I really ever thought about what does that mean. I got married because that's what you do. You get married, you know. But I hadn't thought about it as a technology and why it's there. I didn't understand it the way I do now. Marriage is I don't think anyone ever planned that it was going to be, okay, we're going to do this forever. You know, we're going to do this till we're till we're 100. Marriage was not designed. I mean, think about even the early days of marriage. Think about every Rodgers and Hammerstein musical. You know, think about Oklahoma, you know, where you'd have there's the 3 people in town that aren't married, you know, and you sort of pick which of the 3, you know, you were going to go be with. And now you have access to you have an endless supply of romantic partners in a device in your hand. How does that possibly stand up? How does marriage, the idea of monogamy, forced monogamy or enforced monogamy, how does that ever survive in that environment? I don't think it can. I don't think it's realistic. And the statistics prove me right.
Everything serves a purpose. Marriage for millions of years or thousands of years or however many years has served a certain purpose because society was a certain way. But now in current state society, is marriage even worth it? And this is something you have to ask yourself and determine for yourself based upon the research that you gather. Why are you getting married? Why am I getting married? I've asked myself this question. I'm not getting married right now, but I asked myself, what are the pros? What are the cons? There are definitely pros to getting married. And there are definitely cons, not necessarily to marriage, but to divorce. So you have to line those up and figure out if it works for you. A lot of times I think that people get married just because they do it on autopilot. Like we do a lot of other things that have just been taught to us as we've grown up by our parents, by social media now, by society. You grow up, you go to college, you get a degree, you meet a woman, you buy a home, you have some kids, you get a white picket fence, you work for a job until you retire at 65, then you snowbird down to Florida and you retire. That's like the classic American progression. But as we all know, that's not how it goes now. And so part of me thinks that a lot of people get married by default. They get married because that's what they've been told to do by society. A lot of men get married because of pressure from women. A lot of people get married just because. And they don't realize, going again back to shout out to James Sexton, they don't realize it's literally the most legally important decision you're going to make aside from dying. I think that's what he calls it.
This is going to sound like kindergarten to some of you guys, but honestly, some of you guys need to hear this. Treat other people the way you want to be treated. I know that sounds crazy. Nobody had any issues when this was happening to all these men before. And we all saw how wrong it was, and everybody had every other excuse to why it was acceptable. And then now it's happening on the other side, and people are getting upset. This is why I'm not a fan of laws that only really favor one party or one gender. Because listen, even though I'm a guy, right, I don't like laws that only favor men either, because I have sisters, I have nieces, and I have other people that I care about, and those laws might negatively affect those people. I know a lot of people were cheering before about Dr. Dre and how his wife was going to get a big payday, and then they were so happy for his wife. And now that, you know, people like Halle Berry is getting affected, who work hard in her craft, just like Dr. Dre. And I know that, you know, he's had some weird things that happened in his past. I'm not going to get into that. But just talking about Halle Berry, I mean, I think people like to play these weird gender role games in society. I could go to a quote that my grandfather always says: everything is fun until the pendulum swings the other way. So just because something might be in your favor today, it doesn't mean it's going to be in your favor tomorrow. And when it's not in your favor tomorrow, you're going to have to pay the consequence. That's why it's so important to say something when something is wrong and you know that something is wrong, and not to cheer on bad behavior. Because listen, I understand that originally it was for good intent, right? So if we look at how it was back in the day, how was it back in the day? The man was making all the money and the girl wasn't making a lot of money, and they basically was based upon his one income. So these laws make sense based on that, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. But in today's society, that's not really the norm anymore. I don't know anybody. Well, let me scratch that. Okay, I do know people that could support their household on one income, but for the majority of people, that is not the thing, right? That doesn't exist. And laws today should reflect that. And I think it's important for both parties, both a man and a woman, to vote on laws and have laws that reflect society today in a positive way for both sides and not for just one side, because eventually it's going to swing the other way. So the women that are happy the men are getting screwed over, what happens when it's your son? And then the other way around, when guys, you know, have a law that favors in their way, what happens when they have a daughter?
Very good points. I feel like that was like a lesson to people. You know, like you were saying, like, listen, guys, the golden rule, and you kind of broke it down to a deeper level related to this topic.
Because you know what it was is that I read a lot of the comments I saw from like the Shade Room and some of these other people, and I just saw so many ignorant people comment stuff, and I was just getting a little tired of it. I was a little annoyed, a little sickened by it. Like people were like, "Oh, this person's a bum," blah blah blah, and it's kind of like, weren't we saying that a couple months ago?
Yeah, and it's very hypocritical. I'll be honest. It's very. And listen, I'm gonna call you out, ladies. I call out men. I call out women. We keep it real down the middle on bad decisions. And this is not all to our decision makers. Our decision makers, we know you are more impartial. But to a lot of these women on these Shade Room comments or other comments, sometimes you say stuff that is hypocritical. Like, oh, he's a bum because he's getting child support. But like you just said, if it was the other way around and it's Dr. Dre's wife getting a windfall of money, is she a bum? And if she's not a bum, why? Anyway, let's not go down that road. But I see why you got. Sometimes I watch YouTube videos, and a lot of times I'll end up paying more attention to the comments than the actual video itself. I'm sure a lot of y'all can relate to that. But back on topic, a thing that I see arising lately, because I'll be honest, like I said, people are getting hip to the family court system. Yeah. Well, speaking of family court, people are getting hip to to protecting themselves with prenups. So now what I've noticed as far as like celebrities, because that's the people that we see, you know, it's easy to see them. A lot of times now they have prenups in place and they actually work. But then what happens?
They fight the prenup.
Addition to that, because sometimes they fight it and they lose trying to fight the prenup. And then what happens?
Then they got to pay out?
They use child support in place of the prenup.
Oh, yes. Bro, yes.
That's the new thing now.
Yes.
That's the new thing now.
Yes. It's like you lose on one front, so you want to make it up on the other front.
Exactly. And to me, I'm like, oh my, that's so despicable. Like Kevin Costner's ex-wife. Kevin Costner had a prenup. Yeah. And it worked. So she went back to the judge and like almost doubled or tripled how much she was, and I'm exaggerating. But she asked for a lot more in child support than she originally asked for before. Yeah. To make up for a difference. Tell me that's not jacked up. That lets you know that she's not asking for it for the child. She's asking for it for herself because she wasn't getting alimony.
What child needs $8K, $16K, $100K? What is it? Kanye's wife making them pay $200K? Like,
no, that's because Kim is a billionaire. So I don't know about that.
They both are billionaires.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Maybe that's just see. I don't get that one. I don't understand.
It's at that point you might as well just take turns.
Yeah, I mean,
like I'll pay this month, you pay the next month.
Yeah, if we're both anyway. I don't know.
It just seems petty.
Yeah, and I think Kanye West actually decided to do it on purpose. I think he made that rule back when he was making Adidas money, maybe.
I don't know. He ain't making Adidas money now.
He ain't making Adidas money now. But shout out to Kanye though. Aside from the crazy stuff he says. But yeah, he's so yeah, he does say a lot of crazy stuff.
Ultimately, I'm gonna say it's a bad decision. I feel bad for Halle Berry. It's not her fault that he doesn't make that much money. She shouldn't have to pay for the disparities. I always think that's BS. I think in a situation like that, I mean, it's just reality. Sometimes one parent makes more than the other parent and the child has to deal with it. Mommy's a doctor and dad is a fry cook. It is what it is. That's life. Is life fair? No, life is not fair. So ultimately, I think the court did a bad decision. I don't know what to say with Halle Berry because I don't think Dr. Dre knows what to say either. So
Hold on. So good decision, bad decision. She's paying child support.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, she's not paying alimony.
no,
Okay, cool. So that's different. That's a thing.
yeah. I mean, the court's made a bad decision, bro. It's not her.
Of course, it made it bad. No, because when you were talking, I thought that she was paying alimony. I forgot
No,
for a
no,
second.
no.
Like, wait a second.
No.
But no, she's paying for child support.
Yeah,
Now, again, going back to your point you made earlier, the courts, they want the child to have an equity whenever they're in their two living situations.
it's not reality, guys.
It's not reality.
It's not reality. It doesn't make sense to me at all. It's not reality.
Yeah. So anyway, bad decision. The whole system needs to be changed, and that's where it's on us meaning U.S. citizens, if you're a U.S. citizen, to exercise our civil duties and go to our local elections and vote and get things changed and run for office and blah 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 stuff that I'm probably not gonna do. You're probably not gonna do. We're gonna keep on making videos about it, and that's it. So it's what it is.
No, I'm gonna be honest, and this is where I'll say, I do have to give an L to the men because this is bad decisions on the men's part, and the reason why I say that is because, listen, when a lot of things happen to the ladies, they speak up about it, they vote about it, they make laws that change about it. Us men have been taking this L for how long?
A long time.
For a long time.
True.
And I don't see any of us going in there talking about it in elections, doing mail-in stuff. None of us are doing things. But I guarantee you, this is going to keep happening to women. They're going to do something about it.
Absolutely.
It's going to change.
Wow.
How much do you want to bet?
Yo, how ironic will it be that the child support laws change and the divorce laws change
when they
because
start making
of women?
Yeah, it is.
That's crazy.
It is. And that's why I say it's an L on men's part because we're doing a disservice to ourselves because we keep allowing stuff like this to happen without talking.
That's crazy.
Right? We get mad at everything else, but we can't get, to me, that's why I said the L belongs on us on this part. But ultimately, guys,
well, hold on. I gotta hit him off with something extra for my point.
All right, go ahead.
All right, so I've been watching shows and podcasts lately, listening to different things, and so I've been listening to a lot of these shows and podcasts where they'll interview everyday average American people, just everyday average people who are in relationships, and so there's some themes that occur in these things that I watch, and I'll be honest, I'm not shocked to find that a lot of times when I watch these shows where they're interviewing people about their financial situations, they might be engaged, they might be married, they might be dating, but nonetheless, it never seems to fail that people don't have the tough conversations before they get involved with each other. They don't have conversations about if they're financially aligned, if they're aligned with their values, if they're aligned with how they want to raise children, if they're aligned with their personality. They just kind of fall into love with each other and end up in shambles. And a lot of times the guy sitting there looking real stupid, clammed up, talking about, she decided she wanted to go to Maui even though we had $10,000 of credit card debt and we were helping to pay off our student loans and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this is craziness. So it's like, I just really don't get why people take less time. People take more time to decide what they're going to eat for dinner than they do to decide whether or not the person they're with is a good match for them. And it's kind of crazy to
That's
me.
a bar.
You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
It's wild. So, not to sound like not to give you guys more PSAs or whatever.
This was definitely a PSA today.
It's a PSA. But what I've taken away from all these shows and podcasts, etc. One, as I always say, choose wisely. Shout out to my man Warren Buffett. The most important decision you're going to make is who you decide to marry. 2, choose the right state. You're like, what? Choose the right state?
Because marriage laws differ by state, and if you live in California, you're pretty much screwed. Okay. You might as well take your check and then send it to your spouse or your ex-spouse or whatever, because they getting all of it.
Oh, they're gonna take it for you. They getting all of it.
They getting all of it.
Meanwhile, so exactly, depending on the state you go to, some states don't even have alimony. Ooh. Some states, if they do have alimony, it's not permanent. Some states allow permanent alimony. What the heck? You're paying a grown human being, adult that's capable of working alimony for the rest of your life?
That's the
crazy.
devil.
That
is the devil. I'm sorry. That's the devil lives in that state, and he's been stationed there forever.
Also, some states they don't recognize common law marriage. Because some people don't realize it. Some men and women, they get snuggled up in their house for 10 years. Like, oh, we're not married. Nothing's going to happen. They divorce. They separate. They break up. Little do they know, they owe that person something because now they're technically married according to that state. Crazy. And some states are default 50-50 custodial states.
Which is fair.
So, exactly. So, states you choose is important. And then third, I've learned, is to get a prenup. Before I wasn't a big believer in them. I'm like, it didn't really work. But from what I've learned from a lot of lawyers I've listened to and attorneys, they work. So get a prenup.
Get a prenup or don't get married.
Or don't get married.
All right, guys. So if you think the courts made a good decision with Halle Berry, leave a like and leave a comment. If you think the courts are absolutely, then leave a like and leave a comment. All right, decision makers, we're out.